Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts, and I want to thank you for spending part of your evening with us tonight. An issue plaguing municipalities across Ontario, the need to save dwindling farmland and the push to build more homes. Tonight, I'll share with you one of the town's struggles to do both. Plus, an increase in housing and an appetite for electric vehicles has created a need for more power. The Energy Minister unveiled Ontario's plan today in Windsor, and a fierce advocate for mental health care in Windsor has died. We'll share with you why Dr. Brian Burke is being remembered this evening. Another showdown between protesters in Windsor today, people shouting at each other in front of a politician's office. Their issues stemming from decisions made by the public school board. The CBC's TJ Deere reports.
There were more than 100 people gathered here outside the constituency office of NDP MPP Lisa Gretzky. There were protesters here protesting the local public school board's gender policy, as well as their decision to limit attendance to their public school board meetings to virtual only and refuse in-person attendance. There were also counter-protesters here who were in favor of the board's gender policy. There were shouts between both sides, saying some of the shouts, the most prominent one being "Leave our kids alone." And protesters here, now this comes roughly after 3 weeks where a similar incident occurred outside the public board's head office in the downtown core on the night of their final board meeting before the summer break. At that incident, there were no police present, only a small security detail to keep an eye on things. This time around, there was a police presence to make sure things didn't get too out of hand. As you can see, it's starting to break out with everybody starting to go away. One of the organizers of the protest told me that they sent out a call to all local provincial politicians in the area to discuss what they were looking for in terms of having a say in their child's life. And he didn't hear back from Gretzky, which is why they decided to protest outside her office today.
I think she does a good job. She's well respected, but I really wish that she would reach out and talk with me so we could find a center to this and find a solution by September to get back into the public board meetings.
My understanding of what the situation is that the school board has closed their doors to listening to any side of this situation. The people have created or made it about the kids in terms of, as you can hear them saying, to stay away from their kids, leave our kids alone. Nobody wants to harm children. We're all trying to respect and give children a safe place to be.
And representatives from both sides have told me that they're willing to protest and counter-protest for as long as it takes until they get what they want. TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
Saving farmland or building more homes, it's an issue municipalities across Ontario are dealing with. Decisions that come with major consequences. I have more on one small town's struggle to try and do both.
We're trying to beat the weather here today.
When Kevin Ross started farming 40 years ago, he knew the weather was going to be unpredictable. What he didn't predict, the rate that farmland in southern Ontario would disappear.
We're losing farmland around all of the small towns in the county, and we're not going to get that back.
Ontario is losing more than 300 acres of farmland a day. That's the equivalent of 800 NHL-size hockey rinks every 24 hours. But researchers say Windsor-Essex needs more than 30,000 homes built by 2031. In a place like Essex, a town of about 20,000 built around farming and growing by a couple thousand a year, housing is needed now.
This is one of the last properties that are able to be developed in Essex.
The town says it's reached its settlement boundaries for residential development, and now it's near the capacity of industrial development as well.
So we are definitely at a crossroads, and one of the questions that many municipalities are dealing with now is, can we go up?
It's one of the only solutions for long-term farmland protection, says this urban planner. Multi-story housing with multi-residential units.
This type of, I'll call it gentle density, I think we're going to see more and more across the province, and frankly, we're at this crucial point where it's needed.
Bondi knows that change in a community planted in tradition can be a hard sell.
Going up changes neighborhoods, so it's built. It comes with a lot of resistance, but sometimes it's necessary to accommodate, all of our residents.
It's a concept the Essex County Federation of Agriculture is welcoming. Farmers met with County Council recently to share some of their concerns.
days of having big sprawled out subdivision are over. Like, to me, we've got to change the way we think, because there's only so much land around. They're not making any more. That's it.
Earlier this year, the provincial government wanted to have more housing on farmland. A decision later reversed after farmers pushed back. Ross says what he wants to see is better policies that protect dwindling farmland.
Whenever you cover land over with concrete, it never comes back again.
With all this talk about the need for new places to live, we've got a story coming up tonight highlighting some of the oldest homes in Windsor and why one historian says they should be celebrated. Now, with more housing comes the need for more power. Add the expanding electric vehicle industry to the mix, and that need grows even larger. CBC's Dale Molnar looks at the latest push to amp up Ontario's power grid.
We're going to continue to build our clean energy advantage that's made our province so attractive for investment.
Energy Minister Todd Smith used the Brighton Beach Power Plant transformer station as the backdrop for his announcement for the province's clean energy plan. It includes a new large-scale nuclear plant at Bruce Power and 3 new smaller modular reactors at the site of the Darlington nuclear plant. It also includes investments in wind, solar, and hydroelectric, as well as batteries and biogas. The province also has plans to store energy as well.
That will allow us to have a more efficient grid, which will allow us to use natural gas less, because we'll have the stored energy in these storage facilities, be it long or short duration storage.
The extra power is expected to be needed over the coming decades. Ontario will need to more than double electricity generating capacity by 2050. That's if high growth projections are hit. But the NDP and Green Party are throwing shade on the energy plans. NDP leader Marit Stiles says the plan is short on specifics. She says much of it is either re-announcements or announcements that there will be announcements. It's light on details, including key questions of cost, climate impact, waste management, and financial risk. And Green Party leader Mike Schreiner says Ontario is facing an energy crunch, and the Ford government is making it worse by choosing more expensive, dirtier options. The chair of the Ontario Clean Air Alliance says Doug Ford isn't investing in wind and solar quick enough, and it will lead to rising greenhouse gas emissions and higher electrical bills.
The problem with Doug Ford's plan is he's continuing to spend money to build polluting gas-fired power plants, and he's continuing to spend our money to build very high-cost nuclear power plants.
Meanwhile, electricity demand in Windsor, Essex and Chatham-Kent alone are forecast to grow from a roughly 500 megawatts of peak demand today to about 2,100 megawatts in 2035, almost the equivalent of adding a city the size of Ottawa to the grid. The CEO of Hydro One says a new transmission line from Chatham-Kent to Lakeshore is on track.
I'm really pleased to say we reached agreement with all the private landowners that are being impacted by that line. It took a long time. There's a lot of consultation, but we're in a very good place.
The province has not said, however, how it will pay for the $400 billion cost of the new energy plan estimated by the independent electricity system operator. Hydro One expects to have the new transmission line in Lakeshore complete by the end of 2025. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The homes being built across the country now will be here for decades to come. Some want to make sure those builds include the use of clean energy. The CBC's Emily Chung shows us how some cities are finding ways to develop social housing projects with a green lens.
So this is the sunflower that I'm growing.
Daniel Bentham's rent is less than $600 a month, but his supportive housing building is also a model for how to build green.
What's really nice is the heat pump up here. It allows for heat in the winter and cool air in the summer. And when I close the windows, you don't hear noise outside.
45 units above a church that offers extra supports. And so energy efficient, it's a certified passive house.
Every public investment should achieve more than one end. So how do we make sure that we're achieving climate goals or achieving equitable goals at the same time as building housing?
Going green is a trend among affordable housing providers. 10 families have just moved into this building, phase 2 of a complex in southwestern Ontario made with engineered wood.
We could build it quickly because we had families in motels for years.
Not just fast to build, but green.
So are these all 2-bedroom units?
Yes.
Chalu says one new resident was so overwhelmed by the site, she couldn't even step inside.
She just couldn't believe that it would be hers. Just seeing how beautiful everything was designed, The material is of such quality.
A few hours away, City Housing Hamilton is assembling a modular building that meets Passive House energy standards. The rent for each unit will be as low as $85 a month.
Yeah, a selection of the folks who will move into this building will be homeless. Others will be precariously housed.
City Housing Hamilton has even retrofitted one of its high-rise towers, showing older buildings can go green too.
Reusing the buildings we have is just critically important for a whole bunch of reasons.
For tenants, climate-friendly features mean a comfortable home and affordable energy bills.
They're saving everything. They're saving money, they're saving the planet.
Both Indwell and City Housing Hamilton are building new green homes as we speak for those who need them. Emily Chung, CBC News, Hamilton.
People across Windsor are mourning a leading mental health advocate. Dr. Brian Burke died last week. He was a well-known psychiatrist. Burke was in a senior position at Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare. He was part of the mental health and addictions services. Colleagues describe him as an empathetic doctor with an unwavering commitment to improving people's lives.
I think Brian's contribution at Hotel Dieu Grace was both vision as well as persistence. He kept us focused. He kept moving us forward. He just wouldn't give up, quite frankly. He always asked, where are we? When are we going to hear? What's happening? And I think that singular focus on making it better pushed us all to want to make it better.
To be kind to yourself and to have patience, and that you have to take care of your brain just like you take care of your body. And to always, my friend and I put jazz music on, another patient of his. She came over Friday night when we found out, and we felt like we were back in his office again. So we did a little cheers to Dr. Burke together.
That's the sound of Brian Burke at Fog Lounge, posted by Irene Moore Davis on Facebook. This was back in 2020. There's been a large outpouring of condolences from musicians as well. Dr. Burke was a jazz man, playing with the quartet often at the lounge. The owner of Fog saying he will miss his positivity and, of course, his music. Well, demonstrators descended on the Premier's meeting in Winnipeg today, calling on the Manitoba government to search landfills for missing and murdered Indigenous women. Ashley Burke has more on the demonstrators and the Premier's meeting itself.
A personal plea taken directly to the Premiers.
I'm going to continue playing my drum and singing for my beautiful niece.
Family of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls took their demonstration to the Premier's meeting in Winnipeg, calling for landfills to be searched for loved ones.
Search the damn landfills.
Cambria Harris's mother, Morgan Harris, was allegedly killed by a Winnipeg man. Police believe her remains are in a landfill, but the Manitoba Premier says she won't put workers at risk to search it. Now it's up to Ottawa to decide if they'll foot the bill.
You sit in these powerful positions, but where are you when your own people need you? Huh?
As national Indigenous leaders meet with premiers, the issue is at the forefront.
Unfortunately, we even have to have these discussions, and I think that our women deserve more. We don't belong. We're not garbage.
That's a discussion that has to happen. My thoughts and my heart obviously goes to the families.
Today's meeting is followed by 2 more days of talks by premiers, but Indigenous leaders say they want a seat at their table.
I have 15 minutes on the agenda today to present issues and priorities affecting the Métis Nation.
Premiers say that over the next 2 days, the rising cost of living is expected to dominate talks, including how to address the federal government's new clean fuel regulations and the rising cost of living that's only getting worse as the population continues to grow. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Winnipeg.
There's a safety blitz happening on highways across Ontario. Police say collisions involving transport trucks haven't been this high in years. They've launched Operation Safe Driver to crack down on what they call risky behavior. 1 in 10 collisions last year involved a transport truck. The OPP say they haven't seen this number of collisions involving transport trucks in 10 years. Police say there's 3 clear primary causes for these collisions. That's improper lane changes, following too closely, and speed. Most of the time, the driver of the transport truck is charged. But all drivers need to be mindful of how they drive. 38% of charges laid in these collisions are for people behind the wheel of a passenger vehicle. The safety blitz is going to last until Saturday. Now, another climate record was broken last week. The beginning of July was recorded as the hottest week on the planet. That's according to early data from an association representing meteorologists. We broke temperature records on both land and in the ocean. And we're certainly feeling this heat here in Windsor after a series of scorching days. The average global temperature on July 7th was 17.24 degrees Celsius. That beat the previous record of 16.94 degrees in August of 2016, a strong El Nino year. Now, it turns out our brains are not wired to save the world, but if you're ready to make changes that actually stick, 10 Minutes to Save the Planet will show you how. Meteorologist and climate change reporter Johanna Wagstaff and beatboxing broadcaster Rohit Joseph work through the UN's 10 actions for a healthy planet, but in a way that won't shame, overwhelm, or bore you. Each episode has a bite-sized guide to fight climate change rooted in behavioral therapy. The first episode drops today. You can find it wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Well, coming up, we want the sun, but will we get it? We will find out what the weather has in store for us this week. Colette Kennedy has all those details right after the break. We're back now with meteorologist Colette Kennedy. Colette, it's my first night on the host desk.
Yeah.
Of course, I have the jitters, so it's nice to see your friendly face. Please tell me some good weather is coming our way.
And I'm going to do that, and you do not need to have the jitters. I welcome you, the Windsor audience. So thrilled to have you back again, and what a pleasure to be working with you. You're such a talent. It's all going great.
Thank you, thank you.
And you know what? The weather's going pretty well, too. It is going to be changing a little bit, though. So we are going to be seeing some showers and thunderstorms rolling in, but not yet. So let's just deal with what we have at hand. We have a nice evening ahead. We're also going to be seeing pretty nice overnight, and even the beginning part of the day looks good, too. We do have a little bit of humidity. This is going to be actually climbing a bit further as we get into the day Tuesday, and then it becomes, you always hear me say this, a little more buoyant, that air, and we've got a cold front coming, so that's going to provide some lift. So we get into the afternoon, especially some showers, thunderstorms. They'll be scattered in nature, but some of these could be on the heavier side with some heavier downpours, all right? So nothing to see here. Everything's fine for this evening. Where's the heavier rain? It's into parts of Quebec and Vermont. They're looking at some rainfall warnings, also some flooding warnings. They're stateside. Well, this next system that's going to come through and have an impact on us in southwestern Ontario, it's actually finally going to kick that away. So that's going to improve things over there. So we'll do them a favor. We'll take what we need to here. Now, just know that a few of these, as we get to the afternoon, some could be on the stronger side with some heavier downpours. Much of that may end up being just a little bit further east, but still Chatham-Kent towards Sarnia. Look out, and then we get a break after that. And then what happens is, as we go into Wednesday, another round comes. Now, this is a little different. This could be more like some soaking rains that we see moving through the region. So first of all, it's kind of scattered. You get locally heavier amounts with thunderstorms. That's Tuesday. And then I'm just going to roll this forward so we get into Wednesday, and you see we add more into that. So be aware Wednesday, portion of the day from Sarnia through Windsor. If you're doing any traveling all along the north shore there of Lake Erie, we could be seeing some more significant rains, kind of slow you down a little bit. 19 tonight. Tomorrow morning, we get to start the day off quite nicely, okay, with that sunshine. It's only towards the afternoon we see the increase in cloudiness, and we also get into that increasing risk of getting these thunderstorms kind of popping up on us. And no wonder when we've got 31 degrees, but it's going to be feeling more like about 36 or so. But look what happens behind that front. Yeah, soon as that goes through, we have some rain into Wednesday, but only 23 for that daytime high. Meg, we'll level off a little bit after that. But midweek, a little cooler, a little wetter as well.
Well, I'm going to keep that umbrella close. It sounds like I might need it. Thanks so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, you won't want to miss the story we have coming up. We'll show you inside 3 of Windsor's oldest homes. That's after the break. Well, Windsor has a rich history and we love showing it off. Tonight we turn to a history professor for a look at some of the oldest homes in Windsor and why people should celebrate them.
There already were buildings here. There were already houses here from fur traders and others that had been here for a period of time. This place was built in 1798. Okay, that's again 2 years after the British were forced to leave Detroit. A decision on the part of Alexander Duff to throw in, essentially remain a British loyalist and make his future as a British subject. Those in Detroit that wanted to remain on the other side of the river, of course, would become American citizens after by that time. So this house being built was the first house that we have still standing here. Already in the same general time frame, however, the McGregor-Cowan House, 1808, decade later, was built, and the Francois Bobby House in downtown Windsor was being built around that time, 1808 to 1812, right in that period, and was under construction at the time of the war when it broke out then. Fortunate enough to have those three structures, and they are among the oldest, and this one is actually has Ontario and even national significance. Each of these houses have a different story. Some had institutional support, for example, where the city or the province would provide funds for a house. Many of these houses might remain in a single family that had generational connections. There aren't a lot of structures like this that are in existence. It's a real feather in Windsor's cap to have not only this house, but the other houses that we've mentioned as part of their historical preservation.
A small town in Saskatchewan may have made history with a prehistoric party. The town of Dundurn is looking to beat the Guinness World Record for the most people in inflatable dinosaur costumes. The community is home to 600 people and hoped to have about 400 attend, but the turnout was dynamite. They got more than 1,100 participants. That's triple the previous record. Organizers carefully recorded all of the T-Rexes and other dinos, and now they'll submit the information to the Guinness Book of World Records. Confident, though, the record will be theirs. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. And of course, we're on social media too. As usual, The National is tonight at 9 on CBC News Network, 10 p.m. on CBC TV, and streaming on CBC Gem and CBC Explore. I just want to thank everyone for the kind messages that you've sent me over the weekend, and I'm so grateful to be back home here. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night.